But as an indoor side, we've got people who are now going back to high pressure sodium lights.
Mm.
More and more people, or spectrum tuning to get to the red spectrum closer to high pressure sodium, which is crazy because all of us were told HPS sucks, LED's the way. And now it's more and more that LED is, but not just the traditional full spectrum that we're dealing with. It's the spectrum tuning to more red because we're bringing out some of these traits that these old school genetics had that our new ones aren't seeing because they're being grown under different parameters, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that once we made that big shift to LED grow lights, I want to say back, it was like 2015, 2016 is really when a ton of companies flooded the market. At that point, LED lights were less efficient than HID grow lights. Surprisingly enough, when they first came out, they were just terrible. They were worse than HID grow lights from an efficiency
How about the
standpoint.
blurps?
The blurples, yeah.
Yeah.
But over time, they became better. And a lot of people switched because of how efficient they were and how much money they're saving, cost saving standpoint. However, during that time period, the past 10 years, you still have hardcore HID, HPS folks that stuck with it. And they swear that they cannot get any better of a profile. They can't get any better of a profile with any other light besides the HPS light. And, their studies are coming out and they're finding that there are things that are happening within the plant and expressions that are happening only with that certain spectrum. And it's funny how we're coming kind of full circle. Now we have Thomas over at Grandmaster LEDs. Shout out to him. He's really, I don't say pushing spectrum tuning, but his lights have spectrum tuning. He's been playing around with things in order to determine what gets the best result. And while in the veg stage, he typically recommends a cool white throughout the entire veg stage. When he gets to the flower, he's actually able to utilize his lights to pretty much match the spectrum of an HPS light. So taking it from HID and not having to worry about all the downsides that come with an HID grow light, the heat, changing out the bulbs, all that stuff, to bring it over to LED, which is a more efficient fixture, but still able to get that spectrum, I think is pretty crazy. And yeah, that's like an old school spectrum, I guess you could say, that is still used today, and you can still get great results with it.
Yeah, I see a lot of commercial grows that still use it, and they do pretty well. The ones that are using primarily LEDs, they're growing runts only. Everything is runts, no matter what they grow in there. It's just the esters come out, not the thiols, not the certain, terps that just are a little more prone to liking the red spectrum. It seems that they come out more. When you see the old school stuff and you're wondering why when you grow it these days underneath the current conditions, well, most times it's our LED lights and obviously other conditions that we're giving the plant versus what it had back in the day. But I feel we're doing a disservice by not trying to play with these different spectrums and figuring out what plants like what and how they give these different cannabinoid expressions.
Totally agree. It's like, I want to give a hats off to all the sun-grown growers out there, man, because you look at guys like Mendo.
Yeah, Mendo Dope Boys, shout out to him.
You got Remo. Remo's doing his thing, man.
Hey, I fucking admit
That's
Remo's
our guy,
just got the
man.
vibe. We just watched him earlier.
We're just
He didn't have his
watching
glasses
him,
on. High as shit.
He's a guy, dude.
I love
He does
it.
all his own stunts.
Yeah, I love it,
He's
man.
the Tom Cruise of the weed industry.
He legitimately is. Yes.
I envy those guys, dude. Growing outside is as old as time itself, and it's fair to say that growing indoors is a modern technique. But hey, you cannot. I'm sure there's a lot of people that may argue with this, but it's like the reality is you cannot beat the sun. The sun is there, has created life for forever, and it's like you get the best results from sun-grown product. Now, of course, there's a debate between outdoor and greenhouse, where you can kind of manipulate that environment even further. But I think as a whole, sun-grown product is an old-school technique that still reigns supreme today.
I know there's a lot of people. I'm going to spark some debate in the comment section on this one. I want to hear it. I want to hear
that shit.
Right? Because, there's just so many people that are like, oh, LEDs are now beating the sun and things can be stronger and so on and so forth. So I'm interested to hear people's rebuttals to what you had mentioned.
I'd be curious if those people were selling you LEDs.
It's the manufacturers.
Code. Yeah, no shit. That's an interesting one, man. And And you go all the way to where things are now, and people are seeing nature being involved more in the impact and the elements. And you're seeing people all of a sudden indoors, which is different than back in the day, having companion planting,
Mm.
having things that are helping essentially either give the plant benefits, like pulling nitrogen from the air potentially, or acting like a pest prevention technique, and they're fighting against any of these pests for them, which is really nice too. I've had, different type of orchids that actually do really well in the same conditions, and they will pull all of your flying insects, and that's what they eat. You give them plain water, and they just eat that. It's Julia Articula. I can never even say that. Yeah, it's Julia Roberts. I've got it on my Instagram. It's one my uncle gave me, and it blew me away. I was like, dude, no, I don't have to feed it at all. I just have bugs. This is beautiful. It was my first organic run too, so I put it in there, and dude, beautiful. It was so easy. It's pretty. It has a beautiful flower. There's a variety of different, uh, plants that have essential oils that'll come off of there. If you have like a mint or even potentially a lavender that you have in the space, that can also help deter your pests. But it's definitely a cool, gardening technique because it looks really nice in the garden. It's not taking up any energy from your space, and it's just helping. It's a companion plant.
Marigolds come to mind for me,
Yeah.
deterring, I think it's aphids, if I remember correctly. There's so many out there, that you can do. And that kind of reminds me of companion planting, but also a cover cropping.
Cover crop, yeah.
There's
I
another
almost look
thing
at that
that-
in the sense of a companion plant. You're putting a non-cannabis plant with that together, and they're living in the same ecosystem off of each other.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
consider some of those cover crops to be companion plants in a way, like the clover, for example. Right, clover. I use a white Dutch clover. I also have a blend of different things. There's like 4 different types of clover. It's peas, buckwheat, hairy vetch. There's a whole bunch of different things in this particular blend, but
Harry, what?
hairy vetch.
Hairy vetch.
Vetch. That's what I
Vetch.
heard.
And so the clover, for example, is kind of a companion planting, right?
Yeah.
It's grabbing nitrogen from the air. It's nitrogen fixation, grabbing nitrogen from the air, turning into a form that's usable for the plant. And then once that cover crop dies off, it's kind of released down into
Yeah.
the soil. So, yeah, and there's also the benefit of it going, loosening up that soil a ton. I mean, for me, like, compaction is kind of an issue, especially being in a dry environment. And if I'm not watering, keeping on top of watering, well, if the medium dries out, it's compacting while it's doing that. And me using cover crops, particularly indoors, has alleviated that particular issue. It's made things a lot more airy. When I'm pushing a moisture meter down there, everything's just soft, nice and moist. It holds on to the moisture a lot better. So it's a big win for, it's one of those old school things that people still use today that have a ton of benefits still, both companion planting and cover crops.
Yeah, I think when you look at the availability of a plant helping your plant, we got dogs busting the studio. It's good though. We got fans. She was on the podcast the other day.
She was, yeah.
Shout out to
Took Chris's
Lexi.
spot.
She likes us better this trip. She does like us better. You notice that? She's kind of vibing with us. But when you look at the availability of a plant to help a plant in your garden, it's like you have a little helper in there. You have something that can assist you in either what you would add in with a nutrient, or what you'd add in with a spray, or with you doing manual labor to really alleviate a lot of the extra grow in there. And that's why people do the no-till beds, and they like to rock something that's just an ecosystem that works for itself, and then they just put another plant in there. It happens to be our favorite plant. And it makes it so you basically get benefits that are not only organic, but it's sustainable, because it's all working in this singular space without much human interference. Pretty cool. This FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
From the Stash Podcast.